In the heart of Staffordshire, where rolling green fields stretch toward the horizon, stand a facility that would transform English football from the ground up. But this isn't just any training ground. This is where dreams are forged, where legends are born, and where a future king would leave an indelible mark on the beautiful game. 10 years ago, when Prince William first stepped onto the pristine pitches of St. George's Park, few could have imagined the profound impact his involvement would have. What began as a royal duty would evolve into a passionate commitment that would reshape how England approaches football development. This is the untold story of how a prince's vision helped create a football revolution. From a moment the first foundation stone was laid, St. George's Park was destined to be more than just another training facility. It was to be the beating heart of English football, a place where tradition meets innovation, where the past informs the future. And at the center of this transformation stood a man who understood that football wasn't just a game. It was a force for unity, inspiration, and national pride. The story that unfolds over the next decade is one of dedication, perseverance, and the quiet determination of a royal who refused to let his involvement be merely ceremonial. Prince William didn't just visit St. George's Park. He became part of its DNA, shaping its culture and inspiring everyone who walked through its doors. The morning mist clung to the Staffordshire countryside as Prince William's motorcade wound its way through the quiet lanes leading to what would soon become the most important football facility in England. It was 2012, and the ambitious project known as St. George's Park was finally taking shape after years of planning and development. The prince, dressed in a sharp navy suit with his signature relaxed demeanor, gazed out at the construction site with genuine excitement. This wasn't just another royal engagement marked on his calendar. This was the realization of a dream he had been quietly nurturing for years. William had always been passionate about football. His love for the game wasn't the manufactured enthusiasm of a royal trying to connect with the common people. It was authentic, rooted in childhood memories of watching matches with his father and sneaking away from royal duties to catch games on television. He understood that football was more than entertainment in England. It was a language that everyone spoke, a common thread that bound the nation together regardless of class, background, or circumstance. When the Football Association approached him about becoming the patron of their new National Football Center, he didn't hesitate to accept. The concept of St. George's Park had been brewing for over a decade before William became involved. England's performance in major tournaments had been disappointing, and there was a growing recognition that the country needed a proper home for football development. Other nations had state-of-the-art training facilities and comprehensive development programs, while England's national teams were scattered across various venues, training in borrowed spaces that weren't designed for elite football preparation. Greg Dyke, who would later become FA chairman, had been one of the early advocates for a national football center. He envisioned a place where England's national teams could train consistently, where coaching education could be revolutionized, and where the next generation of players could be properly nurtured. The project needed someone with influence and credibility to champion it, someone who could open doors and inspire confidence in the vision. Prince William was the perfect choice. The prince's first official visit to the construction site revealed his hands-on approach to his patronage. Rather than simply touring the facilities and making polite conversation, he rolled up his sleeves and got involved in the details. He questioned architects about the design philosophy, challenged engineers about the sustainability features, and engaged with construction workers about their experiences building something so ambitious. His genuine interest impressed everyone present and set the tone for his long-term involvement with the project. The facility being constructed was unlike anything England had ever attempted. Spanning 330 acres of carefully landscaped grounds, St. George's Park would feature 13 full-size football pitches, including a replica of the Wembley pitch complete with the same grass type and dimensions. The main building would house state-of-the-art fitness facilities, medical centers, analysis suites, and accommodation for up to 228 guests. There would be indoor training areas for when weather conditions were unsuitable, swimming pools for recovery, and conditioning, and even a full-size artificial pitch for training in any conditions. But the vision extended far beyond impressive facilities. The real innovation was in the concept itself, creating a single location where all aspects of English football development could be coordinated and optimized. Youth teams, senior squads, coaching education programs, referee development, and even grassroots initiatives would all operate from this central hub. It was an ecosystem approach that recognized that football excellence required excellence at every level. Prince William grasped this holistic vision immediately and became one of its most articulate advocates. In meetings with Football Association officials, he demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of player development pathways and coaching methodologies. He had clearly done his homework, studying how other countries approach football development and identifying areas where England could improve. His insights weren't just those of an enthusiastic amateur. They reflected serious research and genuine expertise. The Prince was particularly interested in the psychological aspects of player development. He understood that talent alone wasn't enough to create world-class footballers. Players needed resilience, mental strength, and the ability to perform under pressure. He advocated for sports psychology to be integrated into the St. George's Park program from the beginning, ensuring that mental conditioning received the same attention as physical training. His military background informed his perspective on team dynamics and leadership development. William had served as a search and rescue pilot with the Royal Air Force, experience that gave him insights into high-pressure situations and team coordination. He often drew parallels between military operations and football tactics, emphasizing the importance of clear communication, trust among team members, and the ability to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. The construction of St. George's Park faced numerous challenges that tested everyone's commitment to the project. Budget constraints threatened to reduce the scope of the facilities, planning permission issues caused delays, and there were ongoing debates about the location and design. Through it all, Prince William remained a steady advocate for maintaining the ambitious vision. His involvement provided credibility when funding discussions became difficult, and his public support helped build momentum for the project. One of the most significant challenges was skepticism from within the football community itself. Some coaches and administrators questioned whether a single facility could really transform English football's fortunes. They pointed to the success of countries like Germany and Spain, arguing that cultural and systemic factors were more important than training facilities. William addressed these concerns head-on, acknowledging that St. George's Park alone wouldn't guarantee success, but arguing that it was a necessary foundation for long-term improvement. The Prince also recognized the importance of connecting the elite facilities with grassroots football development. He insisted that St. George's Park shouldn't become an ivory tower isolated from the broader football community. The facility needed to serve as a resource for coaches and administrators at all levels, sharing knowledge and best practices throughout the system. This philosophy would later influence the design of outreach programs and education initiatives. During construction, William made it a point to visit regularly, often arriving with minimal fanfare to check on progress and speak with workers. These informal visits revealed his genuine investment in the project's success. Construction supervisor Mike Johnson later recalled how the Prince would remember workers' names from previous visits and ask about their families and other projects they had worked on. It wasn't royal protocol. It was authentic human connection. The Prince's involvement also attracted international attention to the project. Football administrators from other countries began visiting the construction site, eager to see what England was building. These visits led to valuable exchanges of ideas and expertise, enriching the development process. William personally hosted several of these delegations, using his diplomatic skills to build relationships that would benefit English football for years to come. As the opening date approached, the excitement was palpable. The football community was eager to see whether this ambitious experiment would live up to its promises. Prince William shared that excitement, but also felt the weight of responsibility. He had invested significant time and energy in promoting the project, and its success would reflect on his judgment and commitment. The media coverage leading up to the opening was extensive and largely positive. Football journalists who had initially been skeptical were impressed by what they saw during preview visits. The facilities were clearly world-class, and the comprehensive approach to player development was innovative. But everyone understood that the real test would come when teams actually began using the facility for training and competition. Prince William's final construction site visit took place on a crisp autumn morning just weeks before the official opening. As he walked across the pristine pitches and through the gleaming facilities, he reflected on the journey from initial concept to reality. The vision that had seemed almost impossibly ambitious just a few years earlier was now concrete and ready to transform English football. The anticipation was building toward what would be a historic moment in English football. St. George's Park represented more than new facilities. It symbolized a renewed commitment to excellence and a belief that England could compete with the world's best. Prince William had played a crucial role in making that vision reality, but the real work was just beginning. The morning of October 9th, 2012, dawned bright and clear over Burton-upon-Trent, as if the weather itself understood the significance of the day. Prince William arrived at St. George's Park with a sense of quiet satisfaction mixed with nervous anticipation. After years of planning, construction delays, and countless meetings, the National Football Center was finally ready to open its doors. The Prince, wearing a crisp dark suit and the confident smile that had become his trademark, stepped out of his car to witness history in the making. The transformation of the site since his first visit was remarkable. Where once there had been muddy construction zones and scaffolding, now stood pristine football pitches stretching toward the horizon, their grass so perfect it looked almost artificial. The main building rose majestically from the landscape, its modern design somehow managing to feel both cutting-edge and respectfully English. William paused for a moment to take it all in, remembering the vision he had helped champion and feeling proud of what had been accomplished. The opening ceremony had been carefully planned to showcase the facility's capabilities while honoring the history and traditions of English football. Representatives from across the football community were present, current and former players, coaches, administrators, and youth development specialists. There were also dignitaries from other sports and international football officials who had come to see what England had built. The diversity of the crowd reflected the inclusive vision that William had always advocated for St. George's Park. As the Prince moved through the welcoming crowd, he was struck by the genuine excitement he encountered. These weren't polite smiles offered to royalty. These were the expressions of people who truly believed they were witnessing something special. Youth coaches spoke about finally having a proper home for coaching education. Former players marveled at facilities they could only have dreamed of during their careers. Even the media representatives, typically cynical about grand openings, seemed genuinely impressed by what they were seeing. The formal ceremonies began with a tour of the facilities, led by Football Association officials who had worked tirelessly to bring the project to fruition. William's attention to detail was evident as he questioned every aspect of the operation. In the medical facilities, he discussed injury prevention protocols with sports medicine specialists. In the analysis suites, he examined the video equipment and asked about data collection methods. His questions weren't superficial. They demonstrated a deep understanding of modern football development and a genuine interest in ensuring the facility would serve its intended purpose. The indoor training areas particularly impressed the Prince. These climate-controlled spaces would allow training to continue regardless of weather conditions, addressing one of the practical challenges that had long hampered English football development. He watched as youth players demonstrated drills on the artificial surfaces, noting how the controlled environment allowed coaches to focus on technique and tactics without worrying about external factors. The accommodation facilities represented another significant innovation. By housing teams at the facility during training camps, St. George's Park could create immersive development experiences that weren't possible when teams scattered to hotels each evening. William toured the residential areas, noting the attention to detail in the room designs and common areas. Everything had been planned to support team building and provide the quiet environment necessary for focused preparation. The educational facilities drew particular attention from the prince, reflecting his long-standing interest in learning and development. The classrooms and conference rooms where coaching courses would be conducted were equipped with the latest technology, allowing for sophisticated analysis and presentation of tactical concepts. William sat in on a demonstration lesson, asking perceptive questions about curriculum development and assessment methods. When the formal tour concluded, the prince delivered remarks to the assembled crowd that revealed both his passion for the project and his understanding of its broader significance. He spoke about St. George's Park not just as a training facility, but as a symbol of English football's commitment to excellence and continuous improvement. His words carried weight because everyone present knew he had been genuinely involved in bringing the vision to reality. The prince emphasized the democratic spirit that he wanted St. George's Park to embody. While the facility would host elite national teams, its real value would come from serving the entire football community. Grassroots coaches would have access to the same educational resources as their professional counterparts. Youth players from all backgrounds would have opportunities to train at the facility. The knowledge and expertise developed at St. George's Park will be shared throughout English football, not hoarded by a select few. During the opening festivities, William made a point of speaking with representatives from every level of the football community. He chatted with Sunday League coaches about their experiences and challenges, discussed women's football development with players and administrators, and spoke with youth coaches about talent identification and development pathways. These conversations weren't rushed or superficial. The prince took time to listen carefully and ask follow-up questions that demonstrated genuine engagement. The international visitors were particularly impressed by what they witnessed during the opening ceremony. Officials from football associations in Germany, Spain, and France had come to examine England's new facility, and many admitted that St. George's Park set a new standard for national football centers. The comprehensive approach to player development, the integration of sports science and psychology, and the emphasis on education and coach development represented innovations that other countries would study and potentially adopt. Media coverage of the opening was overwhelmingly positive, with journalists praising both the facilities and the vision behind them. Several reporters noted Prince William's obvious knowledge and passion, observing that his involvement appeared to be far more than ceremonial. Football correspondents who had followed the project from its inception wrote about the transformation they had witnessed and expressed optimism about its potential impact on English football. The first training session at St. George's Park took place later that afternoon as the England under-21 team conducted a practice session under the watchful eyes of invited guests. Prince William observed from the sidelines, noting how the players adapted to the new environment and how the coaching staff utilized the facility's resources. The session ran smoothly, suggesting that the careful planning and preparation had paid off. As evening approached and the opening ceremony concluded, William took a final walk around the grounds. The artificial lighting system had been activated, illuminating the pitches and creating an almost magical atmosphere. He could envision future training sessions, coaching courses, and development programs that would take place in this space. The potential seemed limitless. The prince's reflections were interrupted by spontaneous conversations with staff members who were cleaning up after the ceremony. Groundskeepers spoke proudly about maintaining pitches that would host England's national teams. Kitchen staff discussed menus designed to support elite athletic performance. Security personnel talked about protecting a facility that would host some of the world's most famous footballers. Everyone seemed to understand that they were part of something special. The opening of St. George's Park represented the culmination of years of planning and effort, but William understood it was really just the beginning. The facility's success would be measured not by the impressiveness of its opening ceremony, but by its long-term impact on English football development. The real work of transforming English football was about to begin. As the prince's car pulled away from St. George's Park that evening, he looked back at the illuminated facility with satisfaction and anticipation. The vision he had helped champion was now reality, ready to serve English football for generations to come. The next decade would reveal whether that vision would translate into the success that everyone hoped for, but the foundation had been properly laid. The opening ceremony had exceeded expectations and generated tremendous enthusiasm within the football community. Players, coaches, administrators, and fans all shared a sense that something significant had been accomplished. St. George's Park wasn't just another training facility. It was a statement of ambition and a commitment to excellence that would influence English football for years to come. Prince William's role in bringing St. George's Park to life had been crucial, but he understood that his work was far from finished. The facility would need continued support and advocacy to fulfill its potential. As patron of the Football Association, the prince was committed to ensuring that St. George's Park would become everything its creators had envisioned and more. The honeymoon period following St. George's Park's opening was brief. Within months of the grand ceremony, the facility faced its first real tests, and Prince William found himself in the unexpected role of problem solver and advocate during challenging times. The initial enthusiasm from the football community remained strong, but practical issues began emerging that threatened to undermine the ambitious vision he had helped create. The first major challenge came from an unexpected source: the weather. The winter of 2012 to 2013 proved particularly harsh, with extended periods of snow and freezing temperatures that made outdoor training impossible for weeks at a time. While the facility had been designed with indoor alternatives, the reality of hosting multiple teams simultaneously in limited indoor space created logistical nightmares that planners hadn't fully anticipated. Prince William received urgent calls from Football Association officials describing training schedules in chaos and frustrated coaches questioning the facility's readiness for elite football. Rather than remaining at arm's length from these operational challenges, the prince chose to involve himself directly in finding solutions. He visited St. George's Park during one of the worst winter storms, arriving to find groundskeeping staff working around the clock to maintain playable surfaces. The prince spent hours in strategy meetings with facility managers, contributing practical suggestions based on his military experience with adverse weather operations. His involvement wasn't merely symbolic. He helped develop revised protocols for winter training that would serve the facility for years to come. The accommodation challenges proved even more complex. While the residential facilities had looked impressive during the opening ceremony, the reality of housing competitive teams presented unexpected difficulties. Noise complaints arose when multiple age groups were staying simultaneously. Dietary requirements for elite athletes proved more complicated than anticipated, with some teams bringing their own chefs rather than trusting facility catering. Prince William personally reviewed these issues, meeting with sports nutritionists and facility managers to develop solutions that would satisfy the exacting standards of professional football. During this period, the prince demonstrated remarkable attention to detail and genuine problem-solving ability. He didn't simply accept reports from staff. He investigated issues personally and insisted on practical solutions rather than cosmetic fixes. When teams complained about the quality of video analysis equipment, he brought in technology experts to assess the systems and recommend upgrades. When coaching education participants criticized certain aspects of the curriculum, he sat in on sessions himself to understand their concerns. The media coverage during this challenging period proved crucial to St. George's Park's long-term success. Some journalists were quick to criticize early operational difficulties, suggesting that the ambitious facility was failing to live up to its promises. Prince William's hands-on approach to addressing these problems provided compelling stories that demonstrated both his commitment to the project and the facility's responsiveness to feedback. Rather than defensive reactions to criticism, the coverage showed a royal patron willing to roll up his sleeves and fix problems. Financial pressures also emerged during the facility's early months. The operational costs of maintaining such an extensive facility proved higher than projected, particularly the expenses associated with pitch maintenance and technology updates. Some Football Association board members began questioning whether the investment had been wise, especially when early training sessions didn't immediately translate into improved performance from England's national teams. Prince William found himself defending not just the facility, but the long-term vision behind it. The prince's response to these financial concerns demonstrated his sophisticated understanding of both football development and institutional management. Rather than simply advocating for more funding, he helped develop revenue-generating initiatives that would reduce the facility's dependence on Football Association resources. Corporate sponsorship opportunities were expanded, coaching course fees were restructured, and facility rental programs were developed to serve professional clubs and other organizations. One of William's most significant contributions during this period was his advocacy for patience and long-term thinking. When critics pointed to the lack of immediate results from England's national teams, he reminded stakeholders that player development was a gradual process that required years to show results. His perspective was particularly valuable because his royal position allowed him to take a longer view than elected officials or administrators facing immediate pressure for results. The prince also played a crucial role in maintaining staff morale during difficult periods. Facility employees were working under intense scrutiny, with every operational hiccup becoming potential media fodder. William made regular visits specifically to thank staff members and acknowledge their efforts. These interactions weren't photo opportunities. They were genuine expressions of appreciation that helped maintain the positive culture that was essential to the facility's success. International visitors continued arriving at St. George's Park despite the early challenges, and Prince William personally hosted many of these delegations. His candid discussions of the problems the facility was experiencing and the solutions being implemented actually enhanced St. George's Park's reputation among international football administrators. The transparency and problem-solving approach impressed visitors more than perfect operations might have because it demonstrated a commitment to continuous improvement. The youth development programs proved to be among St. George's Park's early success stories, and Prince William took particular pride in these achievements. Young players who participated in training camps consistently praised the facility and the quality of coaching they received. Parents and youth coaches reported noticeable improvements in players who had trained at the facility. These positive outcomes provided ammunition for defending the investment when critics questioned the facility's value. The prince's military background proved particularly valuable when addressing security concerns that arose during the facility's early months. High-profile players and coaches required appropriate protection, but security measures couldn't be so intrusive that they interfered with training and education activities. William worked with security professionals to develop protocols that balanced safety requirements with the open, welcoming atmosphere that was central to St. George's Park's mission. Technology upgrades became a constant necessity as coaches and players demanded increasingly sophisticated tools for analysis and training. Prince William advocated for treating these upgrades as investments rather than expenses, arguing that maintaining cutting-edge capabilities was essential to the facility's long-term relevance. He personally reviewed technology proposals and often contributed insights from his experience with military communications and analysis systems. The coaching education programs required significant refinement during the early months, as instructors learned to adapt their methods to St. George's Park's unique environment. Prince William attended several coaching courses himself, not as a participant, but as an observer seeking to understand how the educational mission was being fulfilled. His feedback led to curriculum adjustments that improved both the quality and relevance of the training provided. Public relations challenges emerged when some media outlets began comparing St. George's Park unfavorably to facilities in other countries, particularly Germany's training centers. Prince William addressed these comparisons directly, acknowledging that other countries had excellent facilities while emphasizing the unique features and approaches that distinguished St. George's Park. His measured responses helped maintain confidence in the facility during a period when enthusiasm might have wavered. By the end of St. George's Park's first year of operation, most of the early challenges had been addressed through the determined problem-solving efforts that Prince William had helped lead. The facility was running more smoothly, operational procedures had been refined, and user satisfaction had improved significantly. More importantly, the culture of continuous improvement that had been established would serve St. George's Park well in future years. The prince's role during this challenging period established him as more than a ceremonial patron. His practical contributions to problem-solving and his unwavering advocacy for the facility's mission proved crucial to maintaining momentum when early difficulties might have derailed the project. The lessons learned during these months would inform St. George's Park's operations for years to come, creating a stronger foundation for future success. By 2016, St. George's Park had evolved from an ambitious experiment into a proven success story, and Prince William's vision for the facility was becoming reality in ways that exceeded even his most optimistic expectations. The early operational challenges had been overcome through persistent effort and intelligent adaptation, creating a world-class facility that was attracting attention from football communities around the globe. The prince's continued involvement had been crucial to this transformation, as his hands-on approach and unwavering advocacy had helped establish St. George's Park as the heart of English football development. The most visible sign of success came through the improved performance of England's national teams across all age groups. Youth teams that had trained extensively at St. George's Park were achieving results that hadn't been seen for years. The under-17s won their first major tournament in decades, while the under-20s reached finals that had previously seemed beyond their capability. These achievements weren't coincidental. They reflected the systematic approach to player development that the facility had made possible. Prince William took particular satisfaction in these youth team successes because he had always believed that St. George's Park's greatest impact would be on long-term player development rather than immediate results with senior teams. During his regular visits to the facility, he made a point of meeting with young players and coaches to understand how the training environment was influencing their development. The conversations revealed that players were not only improving technically and tactically, but also developing the mental resilience and professionalism that would serve them throughout their careers. The coaching education programs had become perhaps St. George's Park's most significant achievement, attracting participants from around the world who wanted to experience England's approach to coach development. The courses offered at the facility had been refined through years of practical experience, creating curricula that balanced theoretical knowledge with hands-on application. Prince William regularly attended graduation ceremonies for these programs, noting with pride how the quality and diversity of participants had improved over time. International recognition of St. George's Park's excellence led to a steady stream of visiting delegations from other football associations. Prince William personally hosted many of these visits, sharing insights about the facility's development and operational philosophy. These exchanges created valuable relationships that benefited English football through shared knowledge and collaborative initiatives. The prince's diplomatic skills proved particularly valuable in these interactions, as his ability to build personal connections enhanced the professional relationships being established. The facility's research and development capabilities had expanded significantly since opening, with sports science and psychology departments producing studies that influenced coaching practices throughout English football. Prince William supported these research initiatives not only through advocacy, but also by connecting researchers with military and medical specialists who could contribute relevant expertise. His network of contacts across various fields proved valuable in ways that hadn't been anticipated during the facility's planning stages. Technology integration at St. George's Park had reached levels that set new standards for football development facilities worldwide. The video analysis systems, performance monitoring equipment, and data management platforms were regularly updated to maintain cutting-edge capabilities. Prince William's involvement in technology decisions reflected his understanding that innovation would be crucial to maintaining the facility's relevance as football continued evolving. His military background provided useful perspectives on how technology could enhance training effectiveness without becoming overly complicated. The commercial success of St. George's Park exceeded projections as corporate partners sought association with the facility's growing reputation. Sponsorship arrangements and facility rental agreements generated revenue that supported expanded programming and facility improvements. Prince William's involvement in corporate relationship building proved valuable, as his presence at business meetings added credibility and demonstrated the Football Association's commitment to professional excellence. Women's football development became an increasingly important focus at St. George's Park during this period, reflecting broader changes in attitudes toward gender equality in sports. Prince William actively supported these initiatives, recognizing that the facility's resources should serve all segments of the football community. The success of women's teams that trained at St. George's Park validated the decision to make gender equality a priority, and the Prince took pride in the facility's role in advancing opportunities for female players and coaches. The grassroots outreach programs that operated from St. George's Park had touched thousands of coaches and players throughout England, spreading knowledge and best practices to every level of the football community. Prince William regularly participated in these outreach activities, visiting local clubs and schools to see how St. George's Park's influence was extending beyond its physical boundaries. These experiences reinforced his belief that the facility's true success will be measured by its impact on English football as a whole rather than just elite performance. Media coverage of St. George's Park during this period focused increasingly on success stories and positive developments rather than the operational challenges that had dominated early reporting. Journalists who had initially been skeptical were now writing admiringly about the facility's achievements and its influence on English football culture. Prince William's consistent availability for interviews and his willingness to discuss both successes and ongoing challenges contributed to balanced, accurate coverage that enhanced the facility's reputation. The psychological impact of having a world-class home base began manifesting in improved confidence and performance from England's national teams. Players reported feeling more professional and motivated when training at St. George's Park, and coaches noted improvements in team cohesion and focus during training camps. The facility had become more than just a place to train. It was a symbol of English football's ambitions and capabilities. Academic partnerships with universities and research institutions had created opportunities for scholarly study of football development that weren't possible before St. George's Park existed. Prince William supported these relationships, understanding that academic rigor would enhance the credibility and effectiveness of development programs. Research conducted at the facility was beginning to influence coaching education and player development practices in other countries, establishing England as a thought leader in football science. The Prince's personal relationships with players, coaches, and staff had deepened over the years, creating a network of advocates who understood his genuine commitment to the facility's mission. These relationships proved valuable when challenges arose, as people throughout the football community were willing to support initiatives that the Prince endorsed. His reputation for practical problem-solving and authentic engagement had earned respect that extended far beyond his royal status. International tournaments during this period provided opportunities for St. George's Park to showcase its capabilities to global audiences. When England hosted major competitions, the facility served as a training base for visiting teams, allowing football officials from around the world to experience its resources firsthand. Prince William used these occasions to promote English football's development philosophy and to build relationships that would benefit the sport internationally. The economic impact of St. George's Park on the local community had grown substantially, with hotels, restaurants, and other businesses benefiting from the constant flow of visitors to the facility. Prince William took satisfaction in this broader positive influence, recognizing that the facility's success was contributing to regional development beyond football. Local officials frequently praised the prince's role in bringing such a significant resource to their area. By 2018, St. George's Park had established itself as one of the world's premier football development facilities, and Prince William's vision for its impact was being realized across multiple dimensions. The success of England's youth teams, the international recognition of coaching education programs, and the facility's influence on grassroots football all demonstrated that the ambitious goals set during the planning stages were being achieved. The foundation had been laid for even greater success in the years to come. The 10th anniversary of St. George's Park in 2022 provided an opportunity for reflection on a remarkable journey that had transformed English football in ways both profound and subtle. Prince William's decade-long involvement with the facility had evolved from enthusiastic patronage into deep, knowledgeable engagement that had influenced every aspect of its development. As he prepared for his anniversary visit, the prince could look back on achievements that had exceeded even his most optimistic expectations when construction first began. The statistical evidence of St. George's Park's impact was impressive by any measure. England's youth teams had achieved unprecedented success, winning major tournaments at multiple age levels and consistently reaching later stages of international competitions. The senior national teams had also improved significantly, with the men's team reaching a World Cup semifinal and European Championship final, while the women's team had achieved remarkable success, including a European Championship victory. These results weren't coincidental. They reflected the systematic approach to development that St. George's Park had made possible. Prince William's anniversary visit began with a tour of facilities that had been continuously upgraded and expanded over the decade. New buildings had been added to accommodate growing demand for coaching education, while existing facilities had been enhanced with cutting-edge technology that kept St. George's Park at the forefront of football development. The prince noted with satisfaction how the facility had maintained its original vision while adapting to changing needs and opportunities. The coaching education programs have become St. George's Park's most significant export, with graduates working at top clubs around the world and sharing English coaching philosophy globally. Prince William met with a group of international coaches who had come to England specifically to study at St. George's Park, representing countries from every continent. Their presence demonstrated how the facility had become a global center of excellence that enhanced England's influence in world football. During his anniversary visit, the prince spent considerable time with the research and development teams whose work had revolutionized understanding of player development and performance optimization. Studies conducted at St. George's Park were being published in academic journals and influencing coaching practices worldwide. The facility had become not just a training center, but a laboratory for advancing football science and methodology. The technology integration at St. George's Park had reached levels that seemed almost futuristic compared to the facility's opening day capabilities. Virtual reality training systems allowed players to practice decision-making in simulated match situations, while advanced biometric monitoring provided unprecedented insights into player conditioning and recovery. Prince William's early advocacy for technological innovation had helped establish a culture of continuous advancement that kept the facility ahead of global trends. The grassroots impact of St. George's Park had been perhaps its most important achievement, though also the most difficult to quantify. Thousands of coaches had participated in education programs that improved their knowledge and effectiveness, while outreach initiatives had touched players and administrators at every level of English football. Prince William regularly heard stories of young players whose lives had been changed by programs connected to St. George's Park, reinforcing his belief that the facility's greatest value lay in its democratic impact on football development. The anniversary celebration brought together representatives from across the football community, including many people who had been involved with St. George's Park from its earliest days. Prince William's interactions with this diverse group revealed the respect and affection he had earned through a decade of genuine engagement. Former players, current coaches, facility staff, and administrative officials all spoke of his authentic commitment and practical contributions to the facility's success. International visitors at the anniversary event represented football associations from over 50 countries, demonstrating the global recognition that St. George's Park had achieved. Many of these officials had implemented programs inspired by what they had observed in England, creating a multiplier effect that extended St. George's Park's influence far beyond its physical boundaries. Prince William's role in building these international relationships had been crucial to establishing England as a leader in football development thinking. The economic impact of St. George's Park on both English football and the broader community had grown substantially over the decade. Revenue from coaching courses, facility rentals, and corporate partnerships had made the facility financially sustainable while supporting expanded programming. The local economic benefits included job creation, tourism revenue, and increased business for regional suppliers and service providers. Women's football development had become one of St. George's Park's greatest success stories, with female players and coaches achieving unprecedented levels of success. Prince William had been an early advocate for gender equality in football programming, and the results validated his insistence that the facility should serve all segments of the football community. The success of England's women's teams had inspired a new generation of female players and demonstrated the effectiveness of integrated development programs. The sports science and psychology programs at St. George's Park had pioneered approaches to mental health and well-being that were being adopted throughout English football and beyond. Prince William's advocacy for these programs reflected his broader commitment to mental health awareness, and their success had contributed to changing attitudes about psychological support in competitive sports. As the anniversary celebrations concluded, Prince William delivered remarks that looked both backward at the achievements of the past decade and forward to future possibilities. He spoke about the facility's evolution from ambitious vision to proven success, acknowledging the contributions of everyone who had helped make that transformation possible. His comments revealed deep knowledge of operational details and genuine appreciation for the work that had made St. George's Park successful. The prince also outlined his vision for St. George's Park's future development, emphasizing the importance of maintaining innovation and inclusivity while building on established strengths. He advocated for expanded research capabilities, enhanced technology integration, and increased outreach to underserved communities. His forward-looking perspective demonstrated that his commitment to the facility remained as strong as ever. The anniversary visit included meetings with young players who represented the future of English football, many of whom had benefited from programs and opportunities that didn't exist before St. George's Park was created. Prince William's conversations with these players revealed his continued passion for football development and his understanding of how the facility could continue evolving to meet changing needs. The media coverage of the anniversary celebration focused on both the measurable achievements of the past decade and the cultural transformation that St. George's Park had fostered within English football. Journalists noted the prince's evolution from enthusiastic patron to knowledgeable expert, whose contributions had been crucial to the facility's success. His decade of engagement had established him as one of the most informed advocates for football development in England. Looking ahead, St. George's Park faced new challenges and opportunities that would test its ability to maintain relevance and effectiveness in a rapidly changing football landscape. Technological advancement, evolving coaching methodologies, and changing player expectations would require continued innovation and adaptation. Prince William's ongoing involvement would be crucial to navigating these challenges while maintaining the facility's core mission and values. The 10th anniversary of St. George's Park represented more than just a milestone. It marked the completion of a transformation that had fundamentally changed English football. Prince William's vision and advocacy had been instrumental in creating a facility that served not only elite development, but also democratic access to football education and opportunity. The success of the past decade provided a strong foundation for continued growth and impact in the years to come. As Prince William departed from his anniversary visit, he could take satisfaction in knowing that his investment of time, energy, and credibility had contributed to creating something truly special. St. George's Park had become more than anyone had dared hope when construction began, and its influence on English football would continue growing for generations to come. The vision that had brought the facility into existence remained as relevant and inspiring as ever, ensuring that the next decade would bring new achievements and expanded impact.